Hello, everyone. I'm Karen Marquez, Chief Public Safety Brand Officer at RapidSOS. We are so glad you can spend part of your last day here with us at Ready23. Ready23 is hosted by RapidSOS, and if you're not familiar with who we are, it is an intelligent safety platform that securely links life-saving data through monitoring centers to 911 and to field responders in emergencies. At Ready23, we aim to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose among all stakeholders in the emergency response ecosystem. This event is an opportunity to connect, collaborate, and catalyze change in the world of public safety and emergency response. We encourage you to actively engage in the virtual event platform through the chat, live Q&A, and surveys at the end. Today, I'm excited to be joined by a panel of experts from both our 911 community and our field response community to talk about how emergency intelligence data has truly made a life-saving difference across communities. And we're going to share some stories. So I have three great panelists. We have 45 minutes. And guess what, folks? This session wraps up Ready23. And so I am so thankful that you have joined us for the last 2 days to participate in these sessions. Let's close it out with some human impact stories. So Cassie, I'm going to start with you. If you can introduce yourself, shed some light on why you're here, and maybe a little fun fact about you as well.
Not sure about a fun fact. Cassie Lowry, I'm the director here at Rutherford County Emergency Communications District. We are the neighboring county to Nashville-Davidson County, so you can imagine a lot of the fun that manages to spill over into our county. We are now the 4th largest in the state, so we have our fair share of interesting stories. Started back in 1994 in 911, moved my way up through telecommunicator, CTO, trainer, so forth. Now I'm the director for the regional district here in Tennessee in Rutherford County. Basically, I'm here to hopefully, if there's anyone out there that is not using RapidSOS, I'm hoping that these stories will convince you that you need RapidSOS in your center. What RapidSOS did for us, and one of the stories that I'll share later, will definitely let you know exactly how fruitful having that in our center has been for us and for our citizens. It's definitely set the telecommunicators' minds at ease to have that tool. And I guess fun fact for me, most people that know me know I'm a Disney addict, and we probably travel to Disney now more so that the children are older than we did when they were younger, because we now no longer have to worry about their school schedule.
I love it, and I'm right there with you, sister. So Dawn, let's go over to you, a little introduction.
So my name is Dawn Shumway. I'm the 911 Public Safety Communications Manager at Ada County, which is in Idaho, Boise. So if you guys don't know, fun facts about me, I have 5 girls and 11 pets. So I consider it a win if everyone's still alive. At the end of the day, like, have I fed everybody? And also, I like to be funny at work. So I have my Idaho earrings and a potato. And also, I use these to keep my hands warm. It's cute little toasts. So yeah, so keep work light.
I love that. And Chief, you are here joining us as well to share some stories. So a little introduction of where you come from.
I'm Anthony Seggi. I am up here in the little hamlet of Woodgate in the town of Forestport, northern Oneida County in New York State. I'm a retired deputy sheriff. I'm a New York State fire instructor. I'm the fire chief of the Woodgate Volunteer Fire Department. Been in the fire service since 1982. I'm a basic EMT, always have been, just a first responder. Fun fact, I'm a dog trainer. I was a dog trainer with the sheriff's office, trained police work dogs for 20 years of my life. I'm still training dogs. And that's it.
Oh, excellent. You know, not just a first responder, you are a first responder, and thank you for your service there, sir. Excited to have the three of you. So we're going to talk just a little bit too about how your agencies leverage RapidSOS and I Am Responding. So just a brief kind of overview on how you use RapidSOS portal. Dawn, if we'll start with you.
Yeah, so we love the portal. In fact, so we actually have it in our policy that we should all be logged into it at all times. And that's definitely not something that's it's not ever viewed by anyone as a punishment or anything. It's just like, hey, this is such critical tools that we're receiving through this platform. So just make sure that you're always in at all times. And so for us, just having that like base valuing that importance has been great. And I kind of echo what Cassie says, is that I hope that you guys will, if you don't have RapidSOS yet, that you can say, hey, this is a free resource available to me that I can have at our agency to use it. And me and Cassie, before we went live, we were talking about how like we could spend all day talking about all the wins that we've had. And there's so many tools. I'm excited to go in further about how all of them and different stories about how they help us.
Excellent. Cassie, how about you?
As far as, I'm sorry, what was the question again? I'd looked at something else. I had another call come in.
No worries. How your agency is leveraging RapidSOS.
Oh, well, and like Dawn said, we promote that they always stay logged into it. They use it on a daily basis, whether it be different particular types of calls. And sad to say, I'm not sure why, I guess because people are nervous when they place the call to 911. How many times we actually get a caller that gives us the incorrect apartment number or condo unit number. And so the use of RapidSOS allows us to drill down and find them actually in that building. And there's many times that the telecommunicator will actually ask them, so you're in unit this number versus the number you gave me, correct? And they'll say, yes, I'm sorry, I mixed it up or what have you. And so it comes in handy more times than you would assume in locating a caller that has given the incorrect information during an emergency.
Awesome. The other thing that's really cool about this panel is that you all are using our public safety products, every single one of them. So from RapidSOS Portal, RapidSOS Premium Cassie in Rutherford County, and Chief, you all are using I Am Responding, the RapidSOS Field Responder application. So talk to us a little bit about how your organization uses I Am Responding.
We use the I Am Responding as a scheduling unit, as a assist in the who's on duty, who's off duty, who's responding to a call, who can or cannot. We actually use the chat feature in there. If someone's going to be out of town briefly, they're able to pop it into the chat, say, hey, I'm out of town for a couple hours. They could sign out of service and then sign back into service. I myself, as chief, I'm able to use it to communicate with the 911 center, letting them know that I may not be on the radio acknowledging a fire call or an EMS call, but by simply acknowledging it sends an alert to them saying, the chief has recognized the call and they'll be responding shortly. And we use it for alerting our members to calls that they may not be aware of that hasn't come through the 911 PSAP as of, and I'll get into that with my story as well.
Excellent. So exciting. Since this session is called 5 times emergency intelligence data has made a life-saving difference, let's share some stories. Cassie, I'm sorry. I'm going to start with you. It is late in the day, folks. Tell us about a couple of times additional data has made an impact for Rutherford County.
So one of the incidents, and it's made a big difference for us leveraging some of your partners along with using RapidSOS. And so we've integrated several of our third-party applications in with RapidSOS, and our Sheriff's Department works with the U.S. Marshals on a regular basis. We actually have some U.S. Marshals that are stationed within our Sheriff's Department. And whenever they go out to serve warrants or what have you, they're basically trained by some of our telecommunicators, for lack of better terms, to take their cell phones and they actually drop it down into their vest and they'll face the camera outward, and then they'll send them a message and a link. And so the telecommunicator is actually watching everything that the deputy or the U.S. Marshal is doing, and they're following them on the map, and they can direct them into, say, whatever, no, you're on the front side of the building or what have you, and they'll direct them around. And they're also able to keep an eye on multiple units at the same time as they are closing in on maybe a suspect or an area that they're searching. We've done that we had a suspect bail out of a vehicle on the interstate, and they used that in the manhunt. And one deputy actually left his cell phone on the dog's vest. And so we could actually track the dog as well through RapidSOS through that third-party application that RapidSOS has partnered with. So that's one of the big stories for us.
I love it. Chief Sang, you have a story to share with us. I'd love to hear that field responder perspective.
So I can go on and on about the functionality of the I Am Responding that we've used to assist us with calls. A very quick short story. If we get a situation notification that a nearby agency is out to, we'll say, a particular call, and I may have just got finished speaking with the fire chief or the paramedic for that area, telling me that, geez, there's short manpower for that day. I can use that information for the situational awareness and send it out to our members and say, hey, so-and-so's out to a structure fire. Then we have 3 people in town. Only one of them is interior firefighter. Get to the fire station, you know. Particularly, I don't know, do you want me to share my story now with the actual event that actually happened?
I would love to hear it.
Oh, so back in May of this year, we had suffered a pretty good drought up here. We had gone roughly 45, 50 days with literally little to no rain whatsoever immediately after the snow thaw and the thaw of the ice. So there's a misconception. Folks think that, oh, there's a lot of snow in northern New York State and, you know, everything's soaking wet, even though it's thawing. Well, contrary to that, things were very, very dry. We had been warned about high winds and a steady moderate wind with gusts of wind gusting over 30 miles an hour. So in New York State, they have a no burn ban or a burn ban ordinance or law that comes out from the governor that tells folks you can't burn anywhere in the state for a period of time. And being as we border the Adirondack Park, that's scrutinized. On this particular day in May 16th, in fact, a local contractor returned back to his shop to find a small grass fire that had started because of some debris that was thrown into a burn pit, it's an illegal event, but it is what it is, and that's what caused a small grass fire. Well, at the time, I was roughly 14 miles away, assisting with a broken down automobile with one of my family members, and he called me on the phone. He goes, hey, is there anybody around with a fire truck that could bring over some water? And I said, your brother is around, because his brother is a volunteer firefighter. He goes, no, he's not. I said, well, gosh, how bad is it? And as I'm talking to this man, who's a very calm, mild-mannered person, never gets excited, he announces to me over the phone, oh, it just jumped the road. So this day was like a disaster that was steadily snowballing, and 12-mile-an-hour wind gusting to 31 miles an hour. And the fire burned 2 acres of grass in the time it took him to call me on the phone and him to say, oh, it just jumped the road. So in less than 30 seconds, this fire progressed over 2 acres of property, jumped an 8-foot roadway, and then caught the underbrush, and then started to catch trees on fire. Well, I told him to call 911, but in the meantime, I hung up on him. I was able to call up the I Am Responding app, send out an urgent message to all of our members. There is a fire at Tim Halser's shop behind the liquor store. Get a truck and get there now. I had 4 members respond to the fire station, get an engine that carries 1,000 gallons of water and a tender, which carries 3,000 gallons of water. And they were able to actually get on scene before the 911 communicator could collect all the information and activate our siren and our emergency response system with our neighboring departments. When I got on scene, because I went right from where I was directly to the scene, when I got on scene, we were faced with these 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We had flames that were over 20 feet tall, and they were progressing into the Adirondack Park to a residential area. And the wind was blowing the flames and the smoke over 100-foot trees. 100-foot tall trees. It was a sight that I think only folks that fight these major wildfires in the West would really understand. Just shy of a fire tornado was the heat that was involved in this. Well, because we were able to use I Am Responding, get our members there, get equipment there, they were able to use a copious amounts of water to cool that fire down quickly, which we contained to roughly 8 to 10 acres of property, and we were able to keep it from getting to the residential structures. And I attribute that to the use of the I Am Responding app.
Karen, you're muted.
Sorry, for folks that have not heard yet of the I Am Responding application, please feel free to reach out to our teams. the data that's going back and forth through that application now can send this life-saving data out to the field. But in turn, we can also now see our resources, because that's another thing, Chief, you may know where your people are, but if dispatch doesn't know where your people are, and that fire does jump other, parts of property where they're trying to, put out fire or create lines, then they're at risk as well. And so bringing that visibility together for the field and communications is incredibly powerful. Now, I'm a Colorado girl, so we get West Coast fires. And, when you talk about 35-mile-an-hour winds, I can absolutely understand how impactful that can be. So congratulations in the use of that tool to, protect property and save lives. Certainly, that could have gone a very different way.
Oh, absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Don, you are from Ada County, and let me just say, I have to tell you thank you very much for all of the save stories that you share with us. I'm sitting here in the office and we have this book of saves, and not only do you have many in here, but many from our entire partner base out in the ecosystem. If you have any stories out there, you're watching today, you're listening today, please make sure you send them with us, because not only are these great to listen to, we truly listen to the story, what happened, how the technology was used, and the problem that it was solving, because this motivates our team to continue to strive for excellence, to deliver technologies that help continue to save lives and empower ECCs and our field responders as well. So without those stories, we can guess what you need, but we may not know. And so please continue to send those in, Dawn, not only to you, to all of you here and all of our listeners. So Dawn, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, so we've had a really cool, we have a lot of save stories. So I love sharing them, because then other people can use it and say, wow, it was useful in this purpose. Like the story that was just shared with us, that's super powerful. And to know, hey, what if you use this tool in this way? We actually can learn from each other a lot of ways. So share the stories. It truly does help. But we had a caller who called us, and they said that their wife was overdue, that she had taken a walk over to Eagle Island State Park in one of our cities that we dispatch for, and that she hadn't returned. So he had went to look for her, and he was looking for her. In the meanwhile, he had encountered a couple of citizens and these females, and he had said, hey, if you see my wife, I'm missing her. And so they took note. But what they ended up finding was they found a stray dog. And when they did, they at first they were like, oh, there's a stray dog. But then they were like, no, this must be her dog. And the dog was equally striving to help her. And the dog actually helped guide these two ladies to exactly where the patient was located. However, when they made the 911 call, they said, hey, and no, Cassie, you'll relate to this, when they were like, we're by a dirt road at Eagle Island State Park by some water, as if that was going to be specific enough for us to find him, and it wasn't. And so I want to share a screen with you real quick to just showcases. Let's see if you guys can see it. Are you guys able to see this picture?
We can.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what we use, so when these gals found this woman, she had fell into a canal. We have a lot of farming community here, and so she had fell into an irrigation canal. And she was over 80 years old. So she was 82, I believe. And so she didn't have the physical strength to be able to get out of it on her own. They had to go through this thick brush, and it doesn't showcase it on this picture, obviously, but they had to go through this thick, painful brush to get to her. They got in the canal, right before her out. They're making this call, and they're saying, hey, and they're describing where they are only by saying, hey, we're by this dirt road. And so for us to describe where it is to responders without what 3 words that is automatically populated within RapidSOS, the callers don't have to have the app downloaded. And I think that's a myth that people think. The callers didn't have to have it. It automatically is sent to us, and our responders know exactly what that means. So we were able to give them those what 3 words, and they found the patient exactly there. And so this picture, I've circled Eagle Island State Park. It's that big red circle, and you kind of see that snake looking water. And there's the what 3 words little bubble, and that's how far she was. That's how far she had walked away. So without what 3 words, if we were just trying to find them based off of their directions of this dirt road by water, you can see how long, and she didn't have that kind of time available to her. So it was really impactful. And you can see the distance. I'm surprised she was able to get that far. So just in that case, I mean, it just comes in use so much. And so for us to be able to provide medical care that much quicker with that. One of the other positive stories that we had that was truly remarkable for us, and I did share it with RapidSOS at the retreat as well. With October was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I think that we have the ability to help more people than we ever did before. And RapidSOS has created this wider net for us to catch and help support those who are in domestic violence situations. And so in this particular situation, so we always have our portals pulled up, and this woman had called 911, and but she hung up herself just because she had forgot her own worth and value. And so she needed to call 911, and she ended up deciding like, oh no, like, I'm going to be a bother. This is, I'm just going to either handle myself, or I don't know, like, what if they won't believe me? All of those self-doubt things that happen to those in domestic violence. And so she had disconnected the call. However, our call taker saw this pop up into the portal. This is a call that never reached our center. It never rang in audibly to our center. It never reached our phone system. And so she ended up making an outbound call to this phone. And the first answer, like the first call attempt, no answer. But she tried again. So she tried again. She made a second attempt. And on the second attempt, the woman said, hey, this was an accident. I'm sorry. But the caller or the call taker could hear that there was a lot of noises, not just that the caller was making, but that there was a dog barking and almost like there was a problem. So she said, are you sure? Like, are you okay? And then the woman ended up breaking down. She's like, I'm not okay, actually. And she goes, my ex is actually trying to light my house on fire. And so we were able to respond over based off of it. Also, so in this second call, she ended up hanging up. We lost connection. And when all the data we got was purely from RapidSOS. Because we had nothing else to go off of. We had location, we had her phone number, and without that, we wouldn't even been able to even help this woman. So we got there, we were able to arrest the suspect. It was a felony domestic violence arrest that ended up happening. And then we were able to give her these resources that we have in our communities. And luckily here in Idaho, we have really great support here in Ada County for those in domestic violence. And we were able to offer all these resources so that she can break the cycle and get out of the situation. And so without this, we wouldn't have been able to have it. And so I know that sometimes people who have built-in connections already, like, oh, I already have the data with my phone system, it's already displayed. I just would urge you, the portal, like nothing replicates that. And that the portal itself, it will display information that you're just not going to see, even in those partnerships, which is great. It's great to pipe that data through your phone system or in other avenues, but to still have the portal open, because if it wasn't for the portal, we wouldn't have gotten this call.
Such a powerful story, Don. I mean, both of them, creating that visual of where the callers, say they are versus where they actually are, and being able to narrow down. Not only does that save on that call processing time, but imagine the amount of resources that you would have had to use to create a search area and to start to expand that, right? And so, and powerful to be able to send that downstream to the field responders to say, here is the 3 by 3 meter square of where this person actually is. That can certainly help save lives. And so that what 3 words location also will flow into I am responding application as well. So the field units will have that information at their fingertips and be able to navigate exactly where that is. And so, Chief, you can probably relate as well to being able to narrow down that precise location, especially in wooded areas and by bodies of water, etc. If you wanted to expand on that at all.
Well, absolutely. We actually had a similar event here. There's a 200-year-old camp that was built by the Masons. It's called the Masonic Camp, and they have a child camp there called Camp Turk. And we had a young lady who was emotionally disturbed. She was a little bit depressed, and she decided to go out for a walk. Well, she got herself into a situation where she stepped into very, very loose mud, almost like quicksand, and she was buried up to her waist. She had a cell phone, and she was able to, call 911. but the cell phone kept losing coverage and it kept disconnecting from the 911 center. And were having difficulty pinging her cell phone on 3 towers. So we actually had her call Google Maps, and we had her drop a pin where she was and send us that pin. And we were able to put that out over through the IM responding system. And we were able to actually map her using the IM responding map with those coordinates. And we were able to get to her within minutes. I mean, she was in a she was hypothermic at the time. So, it was pivoting on nightfall. So it would have been a pretty scary situation for this young person. But using these resources and having that data at your fingertips and utilizing and sharing that information really, really helps. It helps getting resources going to somewhere, or it helps sharing information to coordinate resources this way you're being a little more specific with your address to public safety.
Exactly. And we're going to work on getting that update for you so you can automatically have that location information and not have to worry about a Google Map pin. So we'll follow up with you there, sir.
Yeah.
So we talk a little bit about additional data, and obviously I always say location is the foundation of every 911 call. If we don't know where you are, we can't help you. But now we're able to see contextual information and additional data that's delivered from the platform. Cassie, can you share with us how might you encourage other people to really understand, grasp, and utilize that data on their calls? What would you say to our audience?
There's just so much data that you can receive, whether it be health data. I know our ambulance service uses that whenever they have the ability to look at that information. It's just, I don't know. So for us, one of the big things that we did, and I know it's another story for us, using that data, when Dawn had mentioned having a call that they saw in RapidSOS before they ever actually had it hit the Vesta. And I know, Karen, I've mentioned this to you before. We used all of the data that was available to us through RapidSOS because we never received any of the calls after the Christmas Day bombing. For 6 hours, we were without 911. And during those 6 hours, every caller that attempted to call 911, we watched the pin drop on RapidSOS. And every telecommunicator utilized the information delivered to call that subject back to inquire, did you call 911? Where are you at this location that we see you at? And what is your emergency? It's just the more partners that RapidSOS has, the additional data that continues to funnel through to us, whether it be from a vehicle or whether it be health data that's delivered. It's just, the biggest thing for us is making sure that the telecommunicators know it's there, make sure that all those features are turned on for them to be able to see that data so that they can utilize the tools that are available for them.
I love that. Dawn, how about you? How do you encourage others to really use and view that data?
Yeah, so one of the calls that we took that was interesting was we had a caller who had filled out their health data in the Apple Medical Emergency ID. For those who don't have iPhones, you can also go to emergencyprofile.org and you can fill it out there, and all that health data will just get pushed through. So we actually share that out at our community booths when we have like when we're doing community events where we're sharing stuff about 911, about how they can help. And anyway, so this caller, they had actually put they were nonverbal autistic, which actually I mean, it wasn't something that I would even have known or would have even thought about. But by having that information already pumped in, right, visible to us, it changed the way that we took the call. We are a busy call center. So we're the biggest PSAP in Idaho, and we stay busy. And so we can go from call to call to call. We actually rotate off of our phones so that we can get a break because we're so busy. And with that, it has the tendency for us to just be quick. So if we don't hear something on the line, we can be quick to move on. But with this, knowing that, hey, the reason why we're not hearing something isn't because no one's there. It's because they are nonverbal autistic. And so it helped us change the pace of our call. It helped us change the quickness of it to really be able to cater to this 911 caller to help them in the best way. And so for us, it was super powerful. We actually have an autism event that we hold in our community, and this was just shared. Everybody loved it, and it created this win-win. Like, here's something that we can offer you as a resource, especially to those parents out there who are like, what do I do? Hey, you can program this into your maybe it's your teenager into their phone. So if they ever call, we can help them a little bit better. And to kind of echo on to what Cassie said as well, that it is really, really important. Like if you're one of those, if you're a company or other things that say, hey, you know, I have some data, you know, should I share it? Just share it. You know, like nobody's like, well, I hope my surgeon only has the tools they need. You'd be like, I want to have everything. I want them to have everything. So that way, if they needed it, they can use it. So really with 911, just empower us to be able to do the best we can. Who knows what tool we'll use? We had a dispatcher use Paint. Who would have thought they would use Paint? But they actually we had a lost camper and they weren't sure where they were, but they created they could see where they were on RapidSOS. So they did a screenshot snippet and they drew on Paint. Here's the rest of the way you need to go. And then they sent that image to him. It was really funny. You know, I've never trained anybody how to use Paint. But there you go. So really all the tools would be best case. So
I love that. And explaining, you know, you want to make sure your surgeon has as many tools as they might need. That's fantastic, Dawn. I'm going to share one more story. And I know, you know, we said 5, but hey, who knows? Let's keep adding. Because I thought this was really powerful as well. And this one comes out of Colorado. And yesterday we shared several stories and awarded some agencies for their use of tools and technology. So this one comes out of the Pitkin County Regional Emergency Dispatch Center. They achieved a significant breakthrough in emergency response capabilities by successfully locating a potential domestic kidnapping victim using RapidSOS. And this happened in July of this year. Critical information was received from a neighboring PSAP in Garfield County, which is, again, their neighbor, alerting authorities that a victim was allegedly being held against their will in a dark sedan within the Roaring Fork Valley. While traditional PSAP technology, including tower location search warrants, only provided a broad 3-mile radius, and we're talking mountain community, so that's some challenging terrain. The advanced capabilities that they use through RapidSOS refined the search. They were able to leverage the technology. Pitkin County was able to narrow down the victim's location to a precise 3-meter radius, exponentially enhancing the probability of a successful rescue. They say that they were searching in the dark for a dark sedan. Without this state-of-the-art technology, pinpointing the location in such a vast area, that would have been virtually impossible. And so this comes from the Sheriff's Department Chief Deputy of Operations. So, you know, the power of this technology, I think, to be able to not only locate people, but also to provide contextual information, we know is saving lives. And so, you know, we have a lot of technology companies and partners that we work with, and we want them to send that data so that we can aggregate it in one single platform and share that to not only 911, but our field responders as well. So what would you say to companies that are listening today and they're thinking, well, we might have some life-saving data, or I have ideas. Does 911 actually want this? What would you say to them? And Cassie, maybe we'll start with you. And what data do you want?
Not only would I like to be able to have the alert that maybe a gun was noticed on a school camera or something, but I would like to also be able to receive information and maybe share back and forth with the staff that's in the school system. Maybe they could trigger alert that we could actually receive in RapidSOS versus having to go to another application, have it pinpoint in there so you know what school system, what school it's from, and what room it's from, so that you can then direct units directly to that classroom. I know that Metro did a fantastic job with the Covenant School shooting, but had we been able to have the information at our fingertips the instant that a teacher decided to, okay, it's time to lock the doors and hide, they could send the alert and you would know what room may had seen a suspect, and you would know exactly where to send units to in that building initially, versus them having to clear the entire building, which I know they're going to do that when they enter for safety in case someone moves, but at least it gives you an idea of what maybe wing of the school someone is in. So again, the cameras and then the ability also to receive alerts from staff within the school system would be great.
That is absolutely what we're doing as well. And so if you think about a school alarm coming in because there is an active shooter, what information from the school would be helpful to know when these activations happen? Like, do you want to know just the address of the building, or what more specifics can we make sure gets delivered to you in a timely fashion?
For us, aside from the address, where it is inside the building, and also, do we have information regarding how to gain access into the building? Because a lot of them are going to be locked doors. We have a policy around here that all of the doors are locked. So we have to have codes to get into those doors, or some sort of an access card. So maybe if there's a way that they could have a system at the school that would enable them to allow us to unlock the doors, with some sort of other feature, or if they had a key access that we could obtain once we were on scene without having to go through the front doors.
Awesome. Dawn, before I go over to you, I just wanted to acknowledge that Chief Segi had to drop quickly for, as he mentioned, he does some dog training, and there was an issue in a class that was being run at the time. So he went to go deal with an emergency, as first responders do. So we thank him so much for his time, and I'll make sure to follow up with him later. So Dawn, to you, what would you say to these technology companies who say, does 911 even want this data, and what can they do with it? And what kind of data specifically would be helpful for you to receive?
Yeah, so it's hard if we have to. Now, for this piece of information, you have to look in this file. For this, you got to look in the premise, like for those codes that you're referring to or different things. In this one, you got to look at search it by address. I mean, but having everything pumped into like one thing that's already up that we're already using, that's really accessible, like that's the ability to not lose time, and not to be like, oh, I forgot to check that one part, or I can't, all those things, and to just have the information just front loaded, I would say is the key part. So an example is like, let's say you have an alarm company calling you. So here in Idaho, all of our streets are named. And so we'll have someone call from who's not in our state, not local, and they'll say something and they're like, it's on this road, and they'll say something and we're like, what are you trying to say? And we lose this time trying to decipher, and this miscommunication that's happening. But imagine if we had the address able to be just sent over, so then we can see the word and we know what it is. We're like, oh, that's this road. And that's just one example of many. And so it just, if you have the capability, honestly, to help support public safety communities, 911 definitely could use it in any way they could. So to just share it, I would just say not withhold it. Similar to what I said earlier, you would want your surgeon to have all tools, and 911 is the same. Like, we are handling things, whether we're trying to find a lost person to providing the best medical care. We do a little of a lot, and it would be nice to have all the support we could have.
That's awesome. We have a really great question that I'm going to pose to both of you. How can vendors and ECCs together ensure that the right data gets to the right people? So who wants to take that first?
So how can they work together? I think with our industry partners, I think it would be great just to have more conversations, more work together, and do a sit along at our agency. We offer sit-alongs. Come sit by our agency, come do a 4-hour day so that you can see some of the challenges that we face. And I think that when you're like, wow, oh, I could help with that, I think it would help bridge the gap. So come in, do a sit-along. That would be my suggestion. And then build those relationships and have those conversations.
I love that. Cassie, for you, how do we make sure that that right data gets to the right people, whether it's getting it in front of the 911 telecommunicator, the dispatcher, our field responders?
Kind of like what Dawn mentioned, the sit-alongs, but not just in communications, but also with the responding units. So, because obviously we can share that information with them. So what do each of them need, and how do they feel it would be the best way to deliver it to them? And then focus groups, because if you don't have necessarily time to come into those centers, if we have those focus groups and we have people from different areas, we're going to have different issues. We're going to have a lot of the same issues, but we're going to have different issues also regarding our location. And so that way you can have more ideas of what information we're looking for, and then how best to deliver it based upon the situations in those centers.
Well, and I will absolutely second that and elevate it. We talked about this yesterday when we were doing the awards and closing ceremony. RapidSOS has been built with public safety and that feedback. And so I think it calls upon vendors to really create partnerships and relationships with our communities and those that we're serving, because they're serving communities in emergency situations when seconds count. We have to take it upon ourselves to spend that time riding alongside of them, whether it's, in a chair in the 911 center or out in the field, in an ambulance, in a fire truck, in a patrol car, to really understand the problems that they're trying to solve, to ask questions, to be curious, and to create solutions that are going to be best for their workflows. Maybe sometimes changing and accepting new workflows as well, but doing that in a smart way that doesn't cause some sort of interference or delay, or maybe making too much information, and prioritizing that in the way that it's going to make most sense based on how these folks ask questions, how questions are answered. And then, of course, collaborating with industry partners, because the last thing these people need, and I'm going to look for a little head nod here, is one more screen and one more application to log into. So working to collaborate in this industry, pass and share data through the platforms that they're already using, so that they can really truly save those lives in the seconds that they have.
Well, and to add to that, not just a screen or a mouse or a keyboard, but additional keystrokes.
Yes.
If it alerts and comes in with that pin drop in the map, all the better.
Dawn, you were going to add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. And so really get to know, and you guys had touched on this as well, that we have differences. So you might have a primary PSAP, you might have a secondary PSAP, and you might have an agency that's big, and you might have an agency where there's only one dispatcher on at a time. So really just saying, hey, you know what, they might need some different stuff, and just getting to know and being able to like just say, these are the resources that I want. Have it all available, and then let them be able to use it in the best way for them, I think is a good point.
I love it. Well, I just want to sincerely thank you both, and Chief, for being here. I know he had to drop, for generously sharing your insights, your experience, and the stories. I cannot express anymore the power of these stories. That is even one level of feedback that we get as well. So thank you so much for what you do, to be part of the RapidSOS community, but also for the communities in which you serve, and for your voice with us as well. Folks, it is time. This is the last session of the day and the last session of Ready23. Whether you're watching on demand or you're watching live, I just want to say thank you to the over 2,300 people that registered to attend this event, all of the technology partners, our public safety partners, however you took part in it, but also to our amazing team that behind the scenes coordinated this entire event. So we are here to serve you, and this was all dedicated to each and every one of you that is out there serving our communities, saving lives and saving properties. We will see you next year.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.